Have you ever wondered how easy it would be to buy a self-storage facility and turn it into a six-figure profit-making machine? I did. So back in 2023, I bought a site in Wrexham, and with just a few simple changes, I was able to take it from losing £500 a month to making over £150,000 a year. And here's the best bit, there wasn't a single employee either. So in this video, I'll show you exactly what I did and the order I did it in to turn it around. I'll go over what the business looked like, how I found it, what I paid for it, and the simple changes that took the revenue up 300%. And I'll even go into what the valuer would put on it now if I was to sell tomorrow. By the end of this, you'll have the full process you can use to buy an underperforming self-storage facility and turn it around. What I'm going to do now is pass you to on-site Dean. He's at Wrexham. He's waiting to show you around the whole building and tell you a little bit more about this. And then he's going to hand it back to me, and then I'm going to tell you at the end all the revenue, the money we spent on it, what it's worth now, etc. All the sexy money stuff. Okay, over to you, on-site Dean.
Thank you very much, off-site Dean. On-site Dean is here at Wrexham, sunny Wrexham, and I'm showing you the site that we bought from a lovely couple who was retiring. What I'm going to do in this part of the video, I'm going to show you around the site, I'm going to show you the improvements we made, and then we're going to get into the cost, how much it cost me, how I found the site, and how I increased the revenue, and then we'll give you back to off-site Dean and we'll go through some more figures, the details, the expenses of the improvements, and tell you if it was worth it or not, and if I would do anything different. Okay, so as you can see here, as I walk around, there we go, we can see loads and loads of containers. There is actually 44 containers on this site, number 44 there. Previously, there was no containers, and I don't know why people don't do this. So many self-storage operators never ever maximize the revenue by utilizing the car park. I always recommend to all my clients that we should be maximizing the revenue. If you've got indoor sites, then why not utilize the car park? Maximize it, because ultimately the car park is here. You might as well use it than not. So we put 44 containers on there. Previously, the previous owners, they only had a building. They had no gate. There's a gate over here. And by the way, I've got my little notepad here, so I don't miss anything. I've got my little iPad. So we've got a gate there. Obviously, that costs money as well, so I'm going to go through all the money we spent on the site. There's a PIN code access, meaning that customers could come 24 hours a day as and when they wanted to. Here's the PTI. I think it costs around about £8,000 for that, but what that enables us to do is to track every single customer, when they come in, when they leave, and all that for security reasons, all that. So it means we enable them to come 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, whenever they want. And previously they couldn't do that. The old owners had some crazy opening hours, which I don't quite understand. They wasn't open on a Wednesday afternoon, for example, so customers couldn't come in. And it's little changes like that that in effect means that you can charge a little bit more. Now the revenue. What was the revenue when I took over, and what is it doing now? Well, when I first took over, I'm going to go for a little walk and talk. Hopefully I don't run out of breath, because walking and talking is harder than it looks, honestly. Right, so when I first took over, it was supposed to be £108,000 revenue. Unfortunately, that wasn't the case. For whatever reason, that didn't materialise, some bad debt, etc. But when I took over, we was actually taking £87,000 a year. It was 90% occupied. I know what you're thinking, 90%? That is incredible, Dean. What a success story. Not quite. It was actually losing £500 a month, a calendar month. So what we had to do was obviously plug that gap, and I'll get to how we plugged that gap and how we increased the revenue past £250,000. Now, what were they doing wrong? I hate saying people doing some things wrong, because that's not really fair. They just didn't really move with the times. That was all. The website was 15 years old. They had no SEO, so they wasn't showing up on Google first page. I think they were showing up on page 3 of Wrexham. There was no Google ad spend whatsoever. And I get why they didn't, because there was 90% full, but there was no revenue management. Some customers hadn't had a price increase for 15 years. They'd been in the site 15 years. I'll tell you a quick story. A 50 square foot unit, which is a third of a container, 20-foot container, they was paying 50 pence a week, and you can charge around about £30 a week for that size unit. So you can imagine there was a number of customers who wasn't paying the correct amount they were supposed to be. So there wasn't nothing crazy, by the way, because I don't want to criticise the couple, because ultimately they'd had enough. There was past retirement age, there was in the 70s, and to understand PPC, pay-per-clicks, advertising, Google, etc., having a nice website, having PIN code access, it was just something that they wasn't interested in doing. So that's why they wanted to sell. There was a motivated seller. So the next thing on my list is to talk about is, how did I find the site? How much did I pay for it? And how did that deal get structured? Well, I simply sent out letters to self-storage owners saying, look, I'm interested in buying your site. If you're interested in selling, give me a ring and we'll have a chat. And it was nothing more complicated than that. These previous owners, they actually give me a ring and they told me they wanted to retire. I came down and said, look, what do you want for it? This is where my negotiation skills come in, okay? You can't teach this stuff. This is pin your ears back. Honestly, you'd be amazed. They wanted £80,000 and they wanted it paid half now and half over 3 years. So what did I come in? I got my negotiating pants on and I said, no. I don't want to give you £80,000. I want to give you £90,000. And no, I don't want to pay it over 3 years. I want to pay it over 2 years. And I want to pay half now and half later. So why did I do that? My mentor at the time, Jonathan J, went absolutely bonkers with me. He said, Dean, what are you doing? You're supposed to negotiate down, not up. I'm like, Jonathan, it's okay. I really like these people. I respect them and it's worth more than that. I knew it was worth more. I knew what we could turn this into. And so I just felt bad. So we paid £45,000 up front and £45,000 over 2 years. Now, this is where it gets a little bit sexy. Yes, sexy, all right? There was actually £20,000 in the bank already. So on day one, that bank account became mine because it's owned by the company. So I only had to put in £25,000 to get this business and pay for the rest of it over, well, it paid for itself. The business paid for itself. As long as it makes money, the business paid for itself. Now, obviously, there's capital expenses. So we've got to buy the containers, we've got to CCTV cameras, the fencing, the gate, etc. So don't get me wrong, I'm going to show you all that. At the end of this video, I'm going to show you what I could sell it for. I'm getting my steps in that, going around here. What I could sell it for if we sold it and what were the difference. And so we'll go through that later. So how did I increase the revenue then from £87,000 to £260,000? Well, there are two main ways of increasing revenue for self-storage. One, we increase the amount the customers are paying. And two, we simply get more customers. There's not a lot extra we can do. So at this site, we did both. We're going to focus firstly on the getting more customers. You see these units here? These, obviously we increase customers by outside by getting 44 containers. 44 containers, I'll go through how much revenue that brought in, but obviously 44 containers paying £30 a week or whatever they're paying here, it's a little bit more than £30 a week. It drives revenue, of course it does. Now you see here, this bit here, this is where the old units used to finish. And so what we've done here, down there, hopefully you can see some extra units sticking out. So this is one of those extra units. So we basically, long story short, we put more units inside because we knew the corridors were too big. So we put more units in. I think it cost about 27,000, but again, I'll look that up. For Offsite Dean can tell you all about that. So we increased revenue by increasing the amount of units internally and externally. Not only that, we also increased what people were paying. There was no revenue management, there was no insurance. Now, at this site here now, we charge £4,500 per calendar month of just insurance alone. So obviously that's £50,000 of extra revenue, and the markup on insurance is incredible. It's a win for the customer and it's also a win for me. I hope no customers come in because obviously we're gaining revenue, we're gaining profit, but not only that, if anything goes wrong, if there's a leak, if one of the roof tiles blows off and it leaks or something damages somebody's goods, then they've got the peace of mind knowing full well that their stuff is insured. So I say it's a win-win-win-win for everybody. And so we made sure everybody had to pay insurance. So we was driving revenue by the customers, making sure the customers. And also what we did was we made sure people were paying the correct rate. The people who haven't had a price increase for 15 years, aka the person who was paying 50 pence for a 50 square foot unit, we made sure he was paying a normal standard rate. And we did that across the board. So we drove revenue there as well. So that went from taking £87,000 to taking 200, my back's hurting carrying this by the way, to taking 260,000. Just some little changes. We also improved the website by the way, did the Stormore website, stormore.co.uk, and we made sure that we had a proper sales process. So just the fundamental things of running the self-storage, we made sure we improved them a little bit, like ranking on Google. So nothing too complex at all. We just did the minor things right. I always say you can be an F-grade operator and get A-star results in self-storage. And so we didn't do anything crazy, and that's how we increased it. Right, so what does it make now? Occupancy is around about 80% full, so where the occupancy is less and we actually take more revenue. The revenue is £260,000. So the key here is our occupancy is less and our revenue is more, therefore our profitability is more. Our expenses haven't changed since the previous operators. In fact, because we've made this site manless, we no longer needed to employ 2 people. Now, it wasn't on massive wages, but together, the 2 couple who were retiring, they was taking £19,200 out of the company every single year. So because we made it manless, we've decreased expenses. So overall, the profit has gone up because the revenue's gone up, and the expenses have gone. Somebody's just come in now as well. So the revenue has gone up, and I feel really awkward now because the customers just come in and are talking about money and stuff. So the revenue's gone up and the expenses has gone down as well, which ultimately means that we have made more money. So what's it worth now? Because I'll get into all the profitability, how much the site is how much the expenses are, and how much the revenue is, and we'll go through that with Offsite Dean. Now, I feel really awkward because the customer's obviously been in now and heard me talking. So anyway, we're going to go Offsite Dean, and we're going to go and talk about all the different revenue aspects and how much, if we sold, we could sell it for. All right, back over to you, Offsite Dean.
Oh, On-Site Dean, that was embarrassing. Oh, God. Do you know what? He's never, ever going to make a news reporter, is he? On-Site, do you know what? It actually gets worse, because after I finished that and I could hear the customers, and I didn't know how much they heard about me making money and stuff, and it's the customers, and I thought, oh no. So I tried to sneak out of the fire door, but stupidly, obviously the fire door's alarmed, and the sirens went off. The security company called Gary, and this is on a Saturday, and I'm like, no, and then I've got to put in a PIN code, didn't know the PIN code. Anyway, it was really, really embarrassing, but I do this for you guys. Right, what we're going to do now then, we're going to go through the numbers, because let's not forget that during the video, I told you that we've actually improved the site. So we've done PTI, extra units, etc. And so we're going to go through all that cost, because ultimately that is a cost. And then we're going to look at how much money we've made from the site, and then we're going to look at the valuation. Okay, so PTI, that's a PIN code access. You need that because if you're going to be manless, then people can come and go when they want. So that is £8,000. The extra units was £23,000. That's the internal extra units. The fence was £20,000. I've got it all written down here, by the way. The cameras was £6,000. The gate was £15,000, and I've put here just bits and bobs that I might have forgot, so I put an extra £10,000 there. So that's an extra £82,000. So £90,000 plus £82,000 equals 172. Hopefully my maths is correct. I've double checked that twice, so that's £172,000. And then what we've done as well, we've also bought the containers. There's 44 containers, and let's say there was £2,000 each. Some are more, some are less, but let's round that up to £100,000, because 44 containers at 2,000 is 88,000. I don't need to double check that. I know that's right. And so that's 88,000 plus a little bit just in case, I don't know, delivery and stuff. So let's go for £100,000. So that is £272,000 this business is currently costing me. Right, that's what it's cost me to do it all up, buy it, etc. It makes £150,000 a year, and there's still room for more as well, because we can put more containers on the site. I don't know, you couldn't have seen, I didn't show you, but around the back there's room for another 15 containers. Don't get me wrong, we've got to move some mud and stuff, so there's extra expense there, but we can do that. So ultimately it's making £150,000. It cost me £272,000 all in, and by the way, there's debt management and stuff. We just don't have 200 grand sat in the bank. We leverage debt. We get debt to do this. So I think that's a really, really good return on our money. And we're not selling it, but if we was to sell it, I'll tell you exactly about the valuations in a second. So over the 3 years, so we've had it for 3 years, well, just over 3 years, I'm saying that we make £150,000 now, but we didn't always make £150,000. So let's say since we've been operating it, we've made £250. So we've just about got our money back out of it from the 272 in the 3 years. We've made 272 to set up, and we've got 250,000 in profit. Right, so what would we do? What would we sell it for if we was to sell it now? At £150,000, this is from JLL, they're the brokers of the self-storage industry. They always have told me it's between 3 and 5 times multiple for a leasehold. We don't own the building, it's a leasehold. If it was a freehold, it'd be much more, but it's not. Unfortunately, I don't own it, so we rent it every single month. So 3 to 5 times. If it was 3 times multiple, it'd be £450,000. If it was 5 times multiple, it'd be £750,000. And let's not forget, we still haven't paid off everything yet. If we're saying it's 272 to set up the place and buy the place, and we've made 250, it's still owed a little bit. So if we sold it now, we would have a profit of around about £400,000 to £700,000. I think it'll be 5 times multiple because there's no staff or anything there. It's everything's been set up to make it as easy as possible. And like I say, we haven't done anything mad or crazy. It's just very simple stuff that we've done in self-storage that's clearly worked. Right, so now I've showed you exactly how we've bought a self-storage and how you can buy one too. The basically letters, underperforming, motivated sellers like these wanting to retire, etc. And just the little things. We brought it from the dark ages with very little website presence to having a digital footprint, a PPC, SEO, and we just did simple things correctly. You can do that as well. It's not, I think we all know by now, it's not like I'm a genius. And so anybody can do this, or just about anybody can do this. Again, the amount of money we put in originally wasn't a massive amount. Right, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to point you to a video if you want to start a self-storage from scratch that we've previously done, and it's just a simple 5 steps. Anyway, you'll see it. Click that link and you can see how you can start a self-storage from scratch. All right, my friends, I love you, I appreciate you, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.